Let's go straight across to R.K. Singh, the former Home Secretary. R.K. Singh was speaking, of course, of the attack this afternoon. A special unit consisting of 40 CRPF and state police personnel coming under attack near the Sukma-Bastar border in Chhattisgarh. The attack began with near simultaneous explosions that killed 3 Jawans immediately. However, as many as 17 were missing. Now we know that 20 at least are dead from that attack. They were ambushed after the initial blast by up to 150 Naxals. Kamaljeet Sandhu joins us with more information on this. Kamaljeet, the Minister of Home Affairs refusing to comment earlier, but are there other officials within the Home Ministry who are talking about this attack and what may have gone wrong?
Well, definitely the Home Ministry officials are in constant touch with Chhattisgarh officials. Let me also tell you the Chhattisgarh DG as well as the DG of CRPF are expected to fly to the spot shortly. We also know that the information coming in is that there are at least 20 who have been found dead, 15 from the CRPF and 5 from the state police. Also that we've come to know is that 2 helicopters are being sent from Raipur to the spot. The bodies have been taken away to Sukma, but also remember the 17 other people who were part of that group have now, we've been told by our sources, returned safely. They are the ones who are providing vital information, and obviously there's combing operation on. But clearly at this point of time, Jiram Ghati has been under attack in May 2013. We know more than 20 congressmen, it's mostly leaders who were killed in a brutal attack where an IED was exploded, and then there was merciless firing. We've seen something similar happening here. There was a road construction where these men were deployed, and obviously there were trucks which were put on fire, and thereafter they were ambushed with lots of firing by around 200 Naxals. So close to 40 men who were ambushed by 200 people. They were clearly outnumbered. But time and again, there has been an indication that this area is particularly a strength of the Maoists. In that sense, there could be a similar attack like this. Had been the several warnings had come from Ministry of Home Affairs. But remember, it's the men on the ground and the way they guard. Clearly, it does seem that they not only lack numbers, but also in terms of strategy. So yes, there have been several rethinks on that. But at this point of time, it's more of a rescue operation, more of having men on the spot there. There has to be some morale boosting, which would be done by senior officials. Our sources also indicate that there could be a top sources meeting who could actually have a meeting there in Raipur of senior officials. The MHA officials may also fly into Chhattisgarh, especially the Naxal division, which handles Naxal-related issues. So in that sense, a lot of new information coming in, but definitely this is a setback for security forces. 20 of their men have been gunned down.
Kamal, we're also hearing, as you mentioned, there is in fact a meeting that's been called by the Chhattisgarh Chief Minister, Raman Singh. It will include the Cabinet Secretary of the state, the additional Cabinet Secretary, and also the Director General of Police for Chhattisgarh. There are some indications and some reports coming in right now, alarming reports, that there may have been intelligence warnings about this attack in Chhattisgarh, and that these men may have been walking straight into a trap despite the warnings.
There have been repeated advisories regarding this, but remember, men on the ground face a different situation altogether. So even though the advisories is on paper and mostly people are told to to try and follow the standard operating procedure, there are times like this one where the force was clearly outnumbered. There have been UAVs, there have been a change in strategy, also about paramilitary keeping in touch with the local police here, but we've seen that there has been a setback not only to the CRPF but also to the state police. So in that sense, there seems to be a clear strategy by the Naxals. One is to outnumber the forces. We've seen that happening in Jiram Ghati incident, as I mentioned to you, in May 2013, where more than 20 congressmen were killed. Clearly, they have a strategy in plan. They usually take vantage points. They try and stop that particular force from going there, and they ambush with lots of firing. So clearly, this is the strategy which has worked with them earlier also. And even though on ground there is talk about gathering more intelligence, there is also about using of UAVs, the ground situation remains very different, and that's why we've seen setback happening there. We know that Raman Singh had called for an emergency meeting with the Home Secretary, the Chief Secretary, as well as senior CRPF as well as Chhattisgarh police officials. This is going to be seen very seriously, considering that 2014 general elections are almost here. A lot of people would be going and campaigning in this area. We've seen more than 75% polling really happening in Chhattisgarh during the elections in November. But now what we know is that this is going to be a very crucial time. The forces have to be very, very alert.
Kamal, stay with us. Dipanshu Kabra is the Deputy Inspector General for Chhattisgarh, and here's what he said.
जो 15 अधिकारी जवान हैं उसमें 11 सीआरपीएफ के हैं और 4 हमारे जिला पुलिस बल के तोंगपाल थाने के हैं। इन पार्टी को इंस्पेक्टर सुभाष है, वो सीआरपी के लीड कर रहे थे, वो भी शहीद हुए हैं।
अब रेस्क्यू ऑपरेशन किस तरह का चल रहा है इलाके में?
अभी यहाँ पर हमारे पास ये इनपुट्स पहले से थे कि यहाँ पर नक्सलियों का जमावड़ा है, उड़ीसा से भी कुछ नक्सली एंटर किए थे। तो अभी एसटीएफ जो सुकमा जिले पे और जगदलपुर इन दोनों तरफ से ऑपरेशन लॉन्च किए हैं और जिस तरफ ये भागे हैं उस साइड में एसटीएफ इनको कट करने के लिए लगी हुई है।
कुछ लापता भी बताए जा रहे हैं जवान, उनकी क्या स्थिति है?
अभी जो लापता जवान थे वो मिल गए हैं। लापता जवान अभी एसपी सुकमा ने बताया कि वो सारे जवान मिल गए हैं।
घायल कितने हुए हैं?
3 लोग घायल हैं, 3 जवान घायल है। अभी उनको जगदलपुर एम्बुलेंस से भेजा है और उसमें 2 सीआरपीएफ के और 1 जिला पुलिस बल के।
आखिर ये घटना कैसे हुई?
ये घटना बेसिकली ये पार्टी 40 लोग की थी और ये पार्टी मेन रोड पे जब निकली थी तो ये एम्बुश हुआ है। नक्सल्स दोनों साइड से, 2 साइड से, और जो कैजुअलिटीज है मोस्टली सभी बुलेट इंजुरीज है।
अच्छा सर, क्या नक्सली मारे गए? कोई हुआ है क्या?
नक्सलियों के भी मारे जाने क्या है एग्जैक्ट अभी कितने नंबर है वो अभी पता नहीं है। ब्लास्ट की कोई सूचना नहीं है।
खबर सर ये बताइएगा कैसे हुई है पूरी घटना तो विस्तार से।
That was Dipanshu Kabra, the DIG for police in Chhattisgarh. I want to go across to Shiv Arur now, our deputy editor at Headlines Today. Shiv, one of the comments made by Mr. Kabra struck me because it confirms the story you broke about 20-25 minutes ago, that there were intelligence warnings about this, about Naxal activity in this area.
That is correct, Pierre. The fact is that the review meeting that was chaired by Ajit Seth, the Cabinet Secretary, actually very specifically assessed the possibility of a quote-unquote spectacular strike by the Naxals in Chhattisgarh ahead of the Lok Sabha elections. We're still to get some clarity on whether a time frame was provided, as part of this meeting about, which particular area in Chhattisgarh was likely to be targeted. That information is not available just yet. We're hoping to get a copy of that review note where the precise, transpirations at that review meeting have actually been minuted and detailed. But there is reason to believe, and there's actually no reason not to expect, that the information shared between the intelligence chiefs and the Cabinet Secretary Ajit Seth at this meeting was not shared with each state. Now, the CRPF reports to the Home Ministry, so obviously this information would have been shared with the Home Ministry as well. The Cabinet Secretary's review meeting information is always shared with the Ministry of Defence, Ministry of Home Affairs, and any other, competent agency to whom information of this kind would be useful. So the DIG in Chhattisgarh actually saying that specific information was provided, like you rightly said, confirms that, information of supposedly specific nature was possibly possibly came out of this review meeting. Now, precisely what route it took to reach Chhattisgarh, through which agencies, which departments, which government departments, which agencies actually had this information is stuff that we will have to confirm over the next few minutes. But what we do know, putting both these stories together, we know that this appears to have been an elaborate intelligence failure.
Shiv Arur, stay with us. We also have reactions coming in now from Chhattisgarh's former Chief Minister Ajit Jogi. Here's what he said.
सीआरपीएफ और जिला पुलिस की एक संयुक्त पार्टी निकली थी और उसकी मुठभेड़ की सूचना आ रही है। उसमें 3 घायल तोंगपाल पहुंचे हैं और 3 डेड बॉडीज वहां से रिकवर हुई हैं। इसके अलावा और जो विस्तृत जानकारी सीनियर अधिकारियों के मौके पर पहुंचने के बाद दी जा सकेगी। ये तोंगपाल और जीरम के बीच में तोंगपाल से करीब 5 किलोमीटर दूरी पर। मुठभेड़ थोड़ी देर तक पहले फायरिंग हो रही थी, अभी फायरिंग रुकी हुई है। देखिए, मौके पे पहुंचने के बाद ही पता लगेगा। जब जवानों ने पोजीशन ली होती है, जब फायरिंग की होती है, तो एग्जैक्टली वहां मौके पे काउंट करना मुश्किल होता है। तो अब मौके पे जब अधिकारी पहुंचेंगे, सही स्थिति तब पता चले। हाँ, ब्लास्ट की सूचना भी है और फायरिंग, दोनों ब्लास्ट और फायरिंग दोनों की सूचना आ रही है, लेकिन लेटेस्ट घायलों को पहले जगदलपुर लाया जाएगा, फिर जैसे उनकी मेडिकल स्थिति थी अकॉर्डिंगली उनको आगे लाया जाएगा।
Our correspondent Kamaljeet is still with us on the phone line, as is our deputy editor Shivarur. Kamal, I want to come across to you first. Now, we were talking about that meeting at the cabinet secretary where intelligence about a possible attack was shared. How would the Home Ministry, under normal circumstances, have handled that information and passed it along to its people on the ground?
Repeated advisories and alerts are sent from Ministry of Home Affairs, and remember, this is a very sensitive area. This is a Maoist-infested area. Sukma, Dantewada, Jagdalpur, these are areas where previous attacks have taken place. Dantewada especially. So in that sense, this is not a new information which is coming in. This is particularly a very, very specific, sensitive area as far as Maoism is concerned. This is their stronghold, and the sort of attack that has now really come in only suggests that they can actually attack at any point of time. They already have the local people or some local sources there which suggest that they know about the movement of the CRPF or state police, and that's why they choose attack in a particular way. They perhaps knew that there was a construction taking place there, that there would be CRPF men who would be coming through the road opening party, would be stationed at that particular place. They would have chosen their strength in their strategy in such a way that they can actually now ambush or have a plain sight at them where they can fire upon these CRPF men who would not be able to retaliate in the same time. And we've seen this tactic being used time and again. There are SOPs which have been put in place, especially after those 77 men died few years ago. CRPF men were killed ruthlessly by the Naxals, and then these SOPs have been put in place saying that same route should not be used by the CRPF men. But time and again we've seen that Naxals at times have outsmarted men. There have been many encounters where the security forces have gained in terms of inching forward, but these kind of setbacks are almost routine for both state police as well as the CRPF. Especially this is going to be taken into consideration that Lok Sabha elections are around. There was a recent advisory by Ministry of Home Affairs where they had suggested that there were 5 states, including Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand, which were very sensitive, and there could be a Darbar-like attack yet again, where more than 28 congressmen, mostly leaders, were killed. So yes, we've seen time and again the strategy change, but it's mostly to have a position of vantage where they can attack the CRPF men.
Kamal, stay with us. We've got more breaking news coming in right now.